No scenes, sugar. Just a little down-home charm.
Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to the show. This is Rogue. She's a member of the X-Men. Duh. She was also just released in the free-to-play hero shooter Marvel Rivals. The crowd goes insane. She looks incredible here, but her design in the game is a little more muscle mommy than in previous depictions in comics. But how did we get here? I'm glad you asked, Bucky, because this is the newest episode of Comic Evolution, the show where I trace the design lineage of Marvel characters found in Rivals. This series is about celebrating and analyzing the art and artists behind our favorite comic book characters. Hit like for Rogue and subscribe for more content like this. 1981, Avengers Annual 10, Rogue's first appearance. Written by Chris Claremont and penciled by Michael Golden. But is it really her first appearance? Yes, technically, but we're here to talk about design, not lore. But here's the speed run. While yes, it is her first appearance, it is not the first story written and drawn to feature Rogue. Rogue was first slated to appear in Ms. Marvel 25 2 years earlier in 1979, where she'd steal Ms. Marvel's powers. That issue was never published. Marvel wouldn't print that story until Marvel Superheroes number 11 in 1992. Rogue mentions this at the time then off-panel event with Ms. Marvel to Captain America before she steals his powers. In Rogue's first appearance, she is a bad guy. She looks unrecognizable to the Rogue we know today. This design evolution with Rogue is drastic. Buckle in, Bucky. This one design element that they kept from the design that remains to this day is the white hair. Rogue wasn't initially drawn as the bombshell Marvel would eventually make her out to be when she became a good guy. At first, she was depicted as your standard, pointy-featured villain. Sharp, angular features meant to invoke menace. That's not to say Rogue didn't have an appealing, memorable look, because she very much did. Her design was dynamic, and it clearly communicated her threat. If she touches you, she absorbs you. Your memories, your powers, your essence is hers if she touches you. This part of her characterization is what makes Rogue so intriguing. Only being able to use touch as a weapon is a kind of tragic and unfortunate power to be born with. I can see how going through life deprived of intimacy would eventually drive someone mad. As a bad guy trait, it works, for sure. But as a good guy trait, it's wildly sympathetic. Chris Claremont and Michael Golden are credited as the creators of Rogue, meaning they receive royalties on everything Rogue related. But remember how I said Rogue's first appearance wasn't published? The actual first story wasn't drawn by Michael Golden. It was drawn by Mike Vosberg, a completely different Mike, before the project was eventually abandoned halfway through. Does that mean Mike Vosberg is the actual artist half of the creator team? His version wasn't published, but her look was technically first penciled by him. Either way, Chris Claremont is the common denominator between both the Ms. Marvel and Avengers creative teams. I'm not sure how much or how little either person involved was in the creating of the character, but I find it interesting that the first to get published drawing the character trumps the first person to actually draw the character. Is that fair? I don't know. It just seems interesting to me. 1982, ROM 31, Rogue's first cover appearance drawn by George Russo's. Time to talk about the bodysuit. Rogue's outfit of choice was always a skin-tight green full-body spandex. Her iconic design has hits of yellow, but back in the day, nary a yellow was to be found. Neither was there a jacket over top of the bodysuit. Instead, her all-green suit had this strange hood. Hoods are such a villain trope, especially green hoods. Her green suit had darker green trim that her gloves matched. We see the underside of her foot here, and apparently she's doing all this in heels. That seems insane. 1982, Uncanny X-Men number 158, Rogue's first X-Man book. Cover artist Dave Cockrum shows Rogue punching out Wolverine, but in doing so, even though she is gloved, it gives her Logan's hair. I gotta say, I like her with the Wolverine do. On this cover, we get more evolution of the character design, but it's still nothing that really sticks around. These new yellow gloves seem more like they're for cleaning toilets than for fighting superheroes, and the military-style outfit is a terrible choice. She's kind of looking like Rogue of the Third Reich over here, and I am not a fan. Inside the book, I'm afraid it gets even worse. Dave Cockrum also draws the interiors of the book, and I gotta say, he lives up to his name because he really cocks it up. Rogue looks like an evil librarian in the most hideous outfits of all time. But she has Logan's hair still, and I gotta say, I just have to move on. It can't get any worse than this, can it? Oh my god, I spoke too soon. What is this? What are we looking at? Well, this is Dazzler number 22 from the year 1982, and it's making my eyes bleed. The cover by Frank Springer is absolutely cursed. Rogue's Wolverine hair is now looking more like wings, and her bodysuit remains largely the same. This cover also unfortunately illustrates Marvel's approach to drawing women. Good guys are babes in revealing clothing, while the bad guys look like 60-year-old librarians with no style. Inside the book isn't much better. She's been aged down from 60 to a comfortable 42. I wouldn't have an issue with any of that if she wasn't literally called the youngest of the Brotherhood. Many Marvel artists had such a hard time making young people look young. All the way back to the first X-Men, these are middle-aged teenagers. Don't get me wrong, I think librarians are awesome, they're just not overly heroic or villainous. Her design up until this point leaves a lot to be desired. And now that I'm seeing the hood more closely, I can safely say that it detracts from the silhouette. It's a clunky design choice that must be resolved immediately. 1983, Rogue officially joins the Uncanny X-Men in issues 171, 182, and 183. Throughout these issues, Rogue is a lost soul archetype seeking community and help. That leads her to the front door of the X-Men. Over these issues, she joins the good guys. In 1984, John Romita Jr. took over the pencil for issue 182 to reimagine Rogue as a good guy. His vision softened her features to make her look like the age that she's written as. I'm not sure what this shirt is, but I think it's meant to invoke a sense of peacefulness, I guess. Which I think it does. I think. John Romita Jr. left the white streak in her hair. It was much more skunk-like back then than it is now. 1987. Uncanny X-Men 223. Rogue looks much different now. She looks like she's an 80s aerobics instructor in a black spandex bodysuit with a tank top and thong over top. The hair is all puffed out. This book was definitely written in the 80s. As out there as this look is, many people credit it for introducing a key component to Rogue's design. And that, my friends, is the jacket. Although it looked wildly different back then, it's safe to say this is the second permanent Rogue feature along with the white hair streaks. And Carrie Gamble can be credited with that. 1988, Uncanny X-Men issue 235. The bodysuit definitely seems to be clinging a little more snugly these days. By issue 236, they have her beating up hordes of bad guys in the nude with even wilder 80s hair. And for equality, Wolverine is also naked in this scene. But the hair totally steals the show. Uncanny X-Men issue 237 with art by Rick Leonardi. The famous brown jacket can be seen on the cover, and on the interiors, it's clear that there was a Marvel mandate to go all the way in the other direction from where we started with Rogue. Now she's the sexed up baddie wearing little to nothing, as if having her spend the entirety of the last issue naked wasn't sign enough. Rogue may be a total smoke show by the late 80s, but she's still not the total Rogue everyone knows. She's been around for over a decade at this point, and there hasn't been a clean and clear design identity established for the buxom Southern Belle. That is until 1991. 12 years after her initial concept, Rogue is finally iconic. This period of time in X-Men lore is known, at least by me, as the Jim Lee era, X-Men issue 1. Don't be confused. While Uncanny X-Men has been around since the 60s, this is the first issue of the new title where they take out the word uncanny entirely. Both X-Men and Uncanny X-Men would run at the same time in the 90s. Both creative teams were Claremont and Lee. I don't know how they did it, bro. Ritalin, probably. Jim Lee established so many iconic X-Men things that are still around to this day. One of those things is the fully realized Rogue look. Jim redefined the character so much that I'd be okay with giving him and Claremont the creator credits, especially if we're just seemingly handing out creator credits all willy-nilly. Gone is the white streak in the hair. Now the entire front portion of the hair is white. The legendary green and yellow bodysuit and belt with leather jacket is firmly established. Her hair will always go back and forth from red to brown, and that's just something that I'm going to have to live with. Her and Gambit are a lot alike in a lot of ways, that hair flip-flop being one of them. You can't say that she's wearing a revealing outfit. She's covered head to toe, my god! You know we have to talk about the Savage Land Rogue. Savage Land Rogue is the first skin coming to the game upon launch. Covering up Rogue head to toe makes sense given her abilities, so Marvel had to find a lore-accurate way to tatter all her clothing. Good thing for them, they have an in-universe prehistoric land with dinosaurs, where nobody wears clothes. The Savage Land has been a part of the Marvel Universe since the 60s. The main character of the region is famous Tarzan ripoff, a naked man named Khazar. Jim Lee reinvigorated the look of the X-Men and made the entire series gorgeous. Every character, every set piece, every panel and layout, stunning. His characters heightened and exaggerated the superhero super fantasy in a way that balances both extreme and subtle elements. There was a 2025 miniseries published that serves as a prequel to this original 1991 story, and in it they explain how Rogue got to the Savage Land and how her clothes got all ripped up. But that's for you to read. As far as her design is concerned, Rogue is now a brunette again. Well, at least on the cover. The interiors of the book depict her hair as being red. When it comes to her outfit, well, there's not much there, to be frank. A torn yellow shirt with a red X-Man X just covers her chest. Underneath that, a pair of barely there green boulder holders. A classic jungle person loincloth with bands around her thigh, arm, and head. The headband comes with 3 feathers. Obviously. Her hands and feet are basically the only things covered up. Right beside her is the equally naked Khazar. I'll let you tell me if you think this design is a little too much. To me, I think it rules. It definitely pushed the borders of what's acceptable, and to me, that's the zone where great art exists. This could easily become gratuitous with one bad camera angle, but the art is handled very respectfully. One of the reasons I think this look is so powerful for Rogue is because of her unfortunate abilities. Imagine having to cover up, head to toe, your entire life because you may drain somebody of their entire life if they accidentally touch you. Then imagine going to the land of naked people and still having that curse. It would make whatever loneliness and yearning within you expand tenfold. That is truly horrific. Magneto is also there in this story, and that's the one person she can touch, and that's a whole other bag of worms for another video. Rogue also has to live with the memories and traumas of the people she absorbs, and she does it while being a bouncy, bubbly Southern belle, and I find that to be equally tragic and fascinating. If that were me, I would have to be institutionalized. I wouldn't be happy or bubbly whatsoever. So did Marvel just want to sell more books by taking the clothes off a pretty girl? Yeah, obviously, but at least story-wise, they picked the right hero to make for a truly compelling character moment. And with Savage Land Rogue, the transformation from fully clothed villain to naked hero is complete. Draw comics the Marvel way. The Jim Lee designs are 100% what you think of when you think of the X-Men. His designs would heavily influence the designs used in the cultural phenomenon called X-Men, the animated series debuting in 1992. That being said, we don't need to spend too much time here other than to mention the one creative liberty that they took in the show. Rogue's jacket, for whatever reason, is green, not brown. It's only one thing, but in my mind, it's a pretty big detail. I prefer the brown jacket, but other than that, the television cartoon design is top tier. You didn't think I was going to talk about Goth Rogue, did you? Well, Bucky, you're wrong. The year 2000 gave us X-Men Evolution, and it's aptly titled for this show that we're doing here. Her evolution in Evolution might be her biggest one yet, at least since turning good guy. And you know what? I fucks with it. Studded bracelet and choker, leather miniskirt, black crop tank top and green sheer blouse, white face makeup with deep purple eyes and lips. God damn, why'd this design from a kid's show from the turn of the century have to go so hard? The show is nowhere near as good as the show from the 90s, but Goth Rogue rules and is another skin I gotta say I want to see in Rivals. As we move into the modern day, Rogue just has brown hair now. It was never red. Shut up, you have bad memory. And now for the moment you all been waiting for, 2025. Marvel Rivals. Okay, alright, here's Rogue from the game, and I like to see that she's sticking pretty closely to that iconic Jim Lee design. But the jacket has a slightly different cut to it, which makes it a little bit more tailored to Marvel Rivals. I am a fan of the brown jacket. The brown really does break up the color of the bodysuit to everything else, but I am afraid to say that the brown hair that they gave her in the game kinda is a little bit muddied with the brown jacket. So I think the easy solution to this was to just give her red hair. And if she had red hair in this game, this would be a top tier design. The only thing taking it down is that little bit of color theory, how you lose some of the brown amongst the brown and it gets a little bit muddied between the jacket and the hairline over here. But either way, I gotta say, I love the bodysuit, I love the belt, I love the jacket, the hairstyle. It's all pretty solid. One other thing that makes this distinctly Marvel Rivals and not just a Marvel design are these like studs on the hips. I don't exactly know what they are. They look like little, I don't know, snaps or buttons, but they're doing nothing. Either way, good design element. She's got the big chunky boots with the laces wrapped around. And one other thing you gotta notice is the lack of gloves. And I think that that is a great touch because she's in battle in this game and she's gonna wanna use her power of touch. In fact, she needs it. It's her main ability. So that attention to detail, I actually like a whole lot. And the next skin that we gotta take a look at over here is the one called the Savage South. And we got the Marvel Rivals take on the Savage Rogue design. I call this one the Savage Garden design because it's a lot funnier. But anyway, this one has a lot of distinctly Marvel Rivals features as well. What are normally bands around the arm are now complete arm wraps over here, which looks kind of like seaweed if I'm being honest with you. And then around the thigh here, she still has the thigh wrap, but it's held together with these bones or teeth or whatever these things are. She got the same tattered yellow shirt, the same green bra underneath, the same loincloth, with a little bit different of a cut. But other elements that make this particularly savage are these furry boots, and the white part of her hair is actually braided if you look around the back over here. That's a really cool touch as well. In the comics, Rogue is a little bit more dainty. She's still an ass kicker in every sense of the word, but here she's a total brick house. Absolutely sturdy as fuck. The foundation on this character is everything you need in a brawler type character because that's what Rogue is in the game. She's right up front, using her fists and her feet and just punching you in the face. The base design would be top tier if she had red hair, but I will forgive it over here because the Savage Garden skin is absolutely S tier for sure. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this week's episode of Comic Evolution about Rogue in Marvel Rivals. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit like and subscribe for more videos just like this. I absolutely love doing this series. And if you missed my episode on Gambit, it's available right now as well. I also have one on Namor, Rocket Raccoon, maybe even a couple more. Head on over to the channel until my next upload, watch another upload. Okay, goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.